Welcome to Sister Sessions, a podcast where two sisters on very different journeys explore what it means to live spiritually in today's world. My sister, Jenny Fairbank, is the co-founder and spiritual director of Wisdom Pathways, a yoga and meditation teacher, and a somatic healer devoted to guiding others toward inner peace. And I'm Susie Gustin, a mom of three, producer and owner of Red City Live Entertainment, embracing life's joys while searching for deeper meaning. Together, we have honest, relatable conversations about finding balance, purpose, and connection in everyday life. So settle in. You are exactly where you need to be. Welcome to Sister Sessions. Hello, welcome to season 3 of Sister Sessions, where we get divine and real. And nice to meet you for all of the listeners that are new to us, and for everyone that's still following, welcome back. I am Susie Gustin, and I am your co-host, and I'm here with my sister, Jenny Fairbank.
Hello, everyone.
Yes!
Yay.
And as you can see, we have a guest in our studio today who I am so excited to talk with. So let's just get started with who we are meeting with today. We are so excited to kick off season 3 with a truly extraordinary guest. As featured in International Business Times and USA Today, Melinda Rothouse is a creativity, leadership, and career coach, consultant, and educator. She's also a musician, songwriter, performer, and the creator and host of the Syncreate Podcast, Empowering Creativity, where she explores the intersections of creativity, psychology, and spirituality. Melinda is also a professor of creativity, innovation, and leadership at Saybrook University and the author of 2 best-selling books, including Syncreate, winner of the Silver Nautilus Award. Beyond her work as a scholar and writer, she performs musically as Melinda Joy, and she leads retreats and workshops around the world. I could go on, but let's just say she's a powerhouse of creativity and inspiration. Melinda, we are absolutely thrilled to have you here in the studio today as we launch season 3. Please help us welcome Melinda Rothouse.
Bravo.
Hey,
Yay!
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the kind introduction, and excited to be kicking off season 3 with you.
I know, so much fun, and we'll just share with our listeners that you and Jenny are no strangers.
That's right.
You are very, very close friends. And matter of fact, you just finished coming out of a weekend retreat that you hosted together in Northern California.
Yes.
And tell us how it went.
It was so amazing. It was wonderful. We had a great group of 7 people, and it was over the equinox. So we were exploring balancing energies and how to work with different energies and kind of come into balance, light and dark, masculine and feminine, the energies of the natural world. So it was a wonderful exploration, yoga, meditation, creativity, journaling, and just a wonderful group.
Yeah, it was really great. We've been wanting to do some work together for quite a while, and I've done little things, and this was finally, it came together in such a beautiful way, and it was quite magical. So we are just kind of coming off of that very high vibrational experience together, and it was quite magical.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So I will tell you that I am so impressed and overwhelmed by your resume, by what you've done. And to give our listeners just a little idea of what I'm talking about, I'll just say this one sentence. This is recently. Melinda shot a music video in Ireland following her artistry residency in Iceland. Who can say that? That's insane. That is so incredible. Can you talk about that?
Of course. Yeah. So I was in Iceland the previous summer with Jenny and Stephen, actually, because they were leading a retreat there. And when we were there, we went to this very magical island called Hrisey. and took a hike around the island. It's in the middle of a fjord in the north of Iceland. You have to take a ferry to get to it. And as we were on our hike, our guide was telling us, when we saw some different like sculptures and things around, and he was explaining that they have an artist residency there, and artists can apply to go there for a month at a time to work on their creative work. So of course I was like, I must do this. So I ended up applying and I got accepted. So I was there for the month of June working on my songwriting.
Wow. And then you ended up filming a music video in Ireland. And how did that come about?
Yeah, so I work with a group of musicians here in Austin, and I have written a duet that I perform with my friend and collaborator, George McCormick. And we're in the process of finalizing the recording of the song, which we'll be releasing hopefully in the next few months. And so the lyrics for the song were inspired by a previous trip to Ireland. So I thought, how fun would it be to actually shoot a music video there, like on location? So since I was already halfway there, we all met over there and shot the video.
Was the music video solely you? Did you have other artists in the video? Give us a little preview.
Primarily George and me, since we do the song together, but our collaborators, Randy and Elisa, also were kind of like in parts of it here and there. And then Euro, my partner, who lives in Iceland, came down and helped us film it, which was really exciting too.
Wow. Wow. So when do we get to see this?
Hopefully by the end of the year. Stay tuned. I will shout it from the rooftops once it's released.
Well, Jenny and I have had the privilege, you guys, of listening to Melinda sing, and it is breathtaking. Your voice is amazing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Super gift.
Yeah, and I will say, I'm trying to find ways to bring the vocal work and the singing more and more into different aspects of my world. So we did some music at the retreat this weekend, which was really fun. And Jenny actually inspired me because I did a channeling session with her recently I've been thinking about kind of shifting my coaching practice to have a little bit more spiritual focus. And so, with her kind of, encouragement, I've decided to kind of rebrand my one-on-one coaching practice as soul song coaching.
Oh, I love that.
So
that's so awesome. You heard it here first, everyone. You heard it here first.
That's right. It's the debut. So we each have a unique soul song, a unique calling, a unique gift to offer to the world. And so really helping people identify and explore that and then bring it out into the world.
Yeah. Well, I know, congratulations. You recently, I believe in July, you recorded your 100th episode of your podcast.
Yes, correct.
That's huge.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. That is a big milestone. Absolutely. 100 episodes. That's so great. And so you talk a lot about creativity.
Mm-hmm.
You study creativity.
Yeah.
I have never, to be honest, I've never heard of like someone studying creativity. It sounds like almost like an oxymoron. I don't know. Like, it's just my head goes, what does that mean? So
Right.
How do you study creativity?
Yeah, great question. So there's so many misconceptions about creativity that either you're just like struck with inspiration or you're not, or only certain people are creative, or kind of the myth of the tortured artist, all of these things.
Yeah.
Which, I believe and I subscribe to the theory that we are all creative by nature as human beings. We have creative problem solving skills. We use our creativity every day in so many different ways, whether it's artistic creativity or, how we dress, how we garden, how we cook a meal, how we raise our children. These are all ways of being creative, and the list goes on and on and on. So my goal is to really open that up for people to see their own creativity and how they're using it in everyday life.
Okay, so now I'm thinking I'm going to stop saying, and I don't say this because it's like, it's not like a wrong or right, but I like how you're describing that. And so I will often describe myself as the creative in comparison to my husband, who's more of the brains, right? He's the computer guy. So I'll always be like, I'm the creative in the relationship and he's the smart one. So I shouldn't really block us in like that.
No. I mean, we all have both sides of our brain, the right and the left, and, the creative side and the logical side. And, I think a lot of people do maybe tend to like live a little bit more in one side or the other, but we all use and need both.
So I can start saying I'm the brains too.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know how far that's going to go, but I will definitely start allowing myself to open that up for me as well.
Yeah, please. I hope so. And as far as the question about how to study creativity, so I have a PhD in psychology, but with a specialization in creativity studies. And within the field of psychology, and specifically kind of humanistic psychology, which is, in the vein of Abraham Maslow, Rollo May, Carl Rogers, looking at the whole person, that actually for about the past 100 years, people have been academically and scholastically studying creativity. What is it? What does it mean to be creative? How do we measure creativity and all these kind of things? How does creativity work in the brain? What is the psychology of creativity?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know, so we mentioned in the intro that your book won the Silver Nautilus Award. Congrats on that accolade as well. And I'm sorry to ask, which one of your books was it?
It was
again?
the Syncreate book.
It was the Syncreate book. Okay. And for those of you who aren't familiar, I believe that the Nautilus Award, their like motto is better books for a better world. Yes?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
quite that's something that you want to win.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's a very it's a wonderful honor, and they have different categories. They give awards every year, and so we won for specifically for the category of creativity and innovation. So
yeah,
super exciting.
Wow. So Jenny, in the retreat that you guys just had together, what was the energy like with Melinda and you together?
Yeah, it was so unique because we come from different backgrounds and different lineages of spirituality, and the way in which we work is different. But coming together, it just brings this new light of intertwining our paths and the different ideas that we have experienced, the different experiences we've had in our lives, and what we do in our lives with clients. And it's really beautiful to work with I realize, being friends with Melinda and working with her, that I am more creative than I give myself credit for. And we always, and I've not only led this retreat with her, but I have also been a participant in her retreats, one in Spain specifically. And it was the first time that I really was introduced to creativity in this certain way, and go and play and do these certain activities that are very free form of creating whatever you want. And it gives this beautiful freedom to play without judgment. That we're not going to be judged, and that we're going to be celebrated for whatever it is that we create. And it's so wonderful to see other people feeling that freedom and opening up and just playing with different materials, because we express a bunch of different things out to play with, markers and crayons and paper and glitter and all the things, yarn and all kinds of stuff. And to see people come into a playful mode as adults and be creative and just enjoy using all these different things that mostly are, kids are playing with in a lot of ways. It brings such a lightness and a joy. So what I've noticed is so much more joy in those moments and laughter than a serious, deep retreat. Yes, is it deep? Yes, is it serious at times? But there's this beautiful symmetry dynamic that I really enjoyed.
Wow. And well, I know that the word play is Melinda, part of the 3 words in Syncreate, that if you want to share that with the listeners of the method in which you go off of. So do you want to share the 3 words?
Yeah, so our sync model is kind of I co-wrote the book with my business partner, Charlotte Gulick, and we kind of distilled our understanding of creativity down to this kind of 3-part model, which is play, plan, and produce. So play is the ideation stage. It's where you're kind of daydreaming and imagining and envisioning what you might want to create. And so that's the really fun, juicy part. And then, as we were talking about earlier, in order to bring any creative project from the idea stage to the completion, we do need that planning. We do need the logical part of our brain, to actually bring it into being and to like set goals and milestones for ourselves, whatever it is that you're creating, so that you create an initial draft or an initial version, and then you polish it, and then you eventually bring it out into the world, which is the produce phase.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's very, it sounds so simple, but yet no one's come up with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really fun way to find your creativity and go through that process. Yeah.
It's a really fun way, I will say. And it's not like we were the first to kind of come up with this idea. In this creativity research over the years, people have identified different stages of the creative process. And so there's different ways of looking at that and thinking about it. But this is kind of like our version to help people. So the whole goal with this book and with the work that we do is to help people move with more ease and more grace through the creative process. Because we've all heard of like writer's block or people getting stuck. And that's kind of inevitable in a way. But how do you move through that?
That's definitely a question that when you have a creative block, what is your process? Do you allow yourself to sit in that for a moment before making your way out? Or do you just shut that down and say, I've got to get past this now?
Yeah, so you really hit on it. It's important to sit with it, actually, as uncomfortable as that might be. So I talk a lot about navigating the creative wilderness. And so when we're on a creative journey, each journey is unique in a way, depending on who we are, what we're trying to create, what medium we're working in. And so there's no map. It is a journey through the wilderness. Like you might have heard of like the hero's journey, right? Same idea. And so you have to forge the path. No one has done it for you necessarily. And inevitably you're going to get lost along the way and then have to figure out your way out of that. But actually, by sitting with that, we can uncover, new insights and new revelations along the way. And that actually, if we can sit with that sort of chaotic unknown, then we can come out of it, with often an even better, richer, more interesting final product than we would have imagined when we started.
Mm-hmm. Do you find something like a common link between your readers, your listeners, people that are coming to you as clients? Is there something specific that you see, like a similarity in them when they're first coming to you?
Mm-hmm. And so in the research, and I find this to be true, in my everyday work, there's a connection between the personality trait of openness to experience and creativity. And openness to experience is just that willingness and curiosity to explore, to try new things, whether that's trying new foods or taking a different route to work or travel or whatever it might be. That just curiosity about how things work and how the world is and other people. And so the more openness that people have, the more, and the less sort of constrained they are by self-doubt or self-judgment or self-consciousness, the more they can open up to their creativity. But the good news is we can cultivate that. It's not, either you're born with it or you're not. And specifically by kind of pushing out of our comfort zones and challenging ourselves to try new things and do new things, we can broaden our horizons in that way.
It's so funny because listening to you talk about like doing things differently and not doing it, driving a different way to work, I am so bad with that. So much so that if I eat something different for breakfast, it's like, woo, I had something different for breakfast today. And I'll take this same walk every day. And last week, there's massive construction in my area. I took my walk the opposite way, and my husband was like, "Are you okay? How did that feel?" I'm not kidding you. He's like, "How did that feel?" Because rarely does he take this walk with me. He does his own thing in terms of exercise. But if he does come with me, he'll always say, "We're going to go left." And I'm like, "Oh, no, we're not. We're going right." That's the way I go. So it's interesting. But when I do that, I definitely feel this sense of like, whew, I just did something and it felt good.
Yeah, it opens things up. And I mean, it's interesting because I know you to be highly creative. So it's interesting, but like maybe challenge yourself to try some different walking paths going forward, see what happens. Because another thing that's really important about creativity is the phase of what we call incubation. So that's when we're doing something completely different. We're not thinking about the project at hand, but we're taking a walk. Maybe we're in the shower, maybe we're asleep and dreaming, and we have an aha moment. We have an insight. And it's because our brain is still working on the thing in the back of our mind, but not on the front burner. And so by moving our bodies or just doing something completely different, that's when those aha moments tend to occur.
Okay.
Breaking the patterns, because, when you're just constantly doing the same thing over and over again, then you're really just, it's a hard time. People have a hard time then to pivot because of that comfort zone, and you're repeating the same thing. And then if it's not the same, then it feels so out of place and you don't know what to do almost with yourself, like taking a different route. And it's so good that you did. And I also would encourage you to try something different for breakfast. I mean, I know you're such a creature of habit, and we all are, but we have to focus on shifting that up, shaking it up somewhat.
Yeah.
Because, when you went to Denver recently, that was really big for you, and you were I could feel and sense you expanding. You were so excited to have a different experience, and it will really help your creativity, because you are extremely creative, and you want to get your brain in different experiences.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it has, and I didn't put the connection together. So like maybe the fact that I have done a few different things recently, I had an aha creative moment this morning with something that I'm working on. And it was like 5:30 in the morning. I put it in my phone notes, and I was like, wow, I don't even know where it came from, because I wasn't even thinking about it.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We're going to take note on this. Let's all eat something different for breakfast.
Absolutely. And if you want to take it to the next level, here's another little pro tip.
Oh, I want it.
we usually, when we're out walking, we usually have our phone with us, right? So try just this practice. A friend of mine calls it exquisite noticing. And just really open your senses to what's around. Even if you are taking the same walk every day, there's always something fresh. There's always something new, a flower that's blooming, or a cute little dog that you encounter, or whatever it might be. And take a photograph. And it's a way of documenting what you see, and really kind of like almost this game of like opening to the senses and seeing what's there. And that can spur a lot of creative ideas as well. And you might end up with some really interesting photos.
Yeah. Well, I do that with on my walks when I see a gorgeous like flower, but
Mm-hmm.
now I'll expand it to whatever strikes my attention.
Absolutely. Like, we're going into fall now. I know you experience more fall than we do here in Texas, but the changing of the leaves, the colors, they're so brilliant, so beautiful. And I love this time of year for that reason.
Yeah.
Nice.
The creativity of Melinda is like overflowing all the time.
That's what it must feel. I mean, are you well, I was going to say, do you feel and joy constantly? You actually, your, I don't, should we call it, your stage name is Melinda Joy,
Mm-hmm.
which is perfect.
That's actually my middle name, my real middle name.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And I love it.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yeah. Who has that? That's so pretty. Wow.
Thank you.
So, Jenny, how has your things shifted with you spending this time with Melinda? And, Melinda talked about things with her in working with you, and what's the opposite?
Well, just being with Melinda, around Melinda, helps me to open my mind to other possibilities. Since meeting Melinda many years ago now, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, I have traveled more than probably ever in my life because she's like, well, just come. And then I'm like, okay. And I love to travel, but she has such a free spirit in a way where it's just whatever her whims and fancies are, she follows it. And I know that's not necessarily easy for everyone, given certain responsibilities in life. Melinda has a freedom that I think a lot of people a lot of people are in awe of, because it's just, I feel like going to Iceland now, and then I'm going to go to Mexico, and then I'm going to go to Ireland, and then I'm going to Portugal, wherever. It's all over. And so I love to watch her express this and share this with people, and their eyes light up and their jaw drop, like, what? You're doing what? Because she has no I want to say boundaries in a way.
Limitations almost.
Yeah, the limitations of, she knows that she can do anything, and she does. And that is really powerful to witness.
And thank you. And I will say, this doesn't have to be so elaborate. I think people imagine that there are all these barriers, but, you could travel around your own state. You could go visit different parks. You could just rent a little cabin somewhere. It doesn't have to be prohibitively expensive or far away. And these days, you'd be surprised. I think people are often surprised because they think, oh, she's living in luxury and doing it. So, you can actually travel quite inexpensively if you do a bit of research. There's all these sites where you can find deals on plane tickets. You can stay in hostels. You can do Airbnbs. There's all these ways, depending on what country you go to. Obviously, some are more expensive, some are less so. Or, even within the US, like, there are ways of doing it that I think people are held back from because they imagine it to be too difficult or too expensive. But actually, when you start looking into it and start researching it, there are ways.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually great advice from someone who's an avid traveler. And a lot of people who don't travel say that's their number one reason of why. So yeah, if you get creative on the internet and explore, then yeah, you'll find where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Exactly.
I listened, you were talking about with your co-host Charlotte, correct? Charlotte Golick. Am I saying her name right? Yes. In your 102nd episode, you were discussing the power of one conversation and how something that will stick. You know, when you're a kid, you'll hear somebody tell you constantly, you can't, you can't, you can't. But then you have that one conversation with someone that tells you that you can, and the power of that conversation. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I think that a lot of people need to hear that, because we do have, whether it's usually when you're kids, it's not just, you know, just not just a mom or a dad that does it. You could have aunts and uncles, you could have teachers, you know, that say these things. You can't do that. You'll never be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We receive these messages, both kind of negative and positive. You know, so many people have gotten some kind of messaging when they were young that they weren't creative, and they believed it, and they still carried around with them, which is what I'm hoping to, you know, dispel that myth for people. But then again, on the flip side, you know, whether it's a friend or a family member, a mentor, a teacher, you know, just one person who sees you and supports you and encourages you can like have such a profound effect and change the course of your life. It's amazing.
Yeah. So my takeaway with that for all of us is, one, don't believe the naysayers. If someone told you that, it's not true. You are creative. You are anything that you want to be. And the other is the power that we have to influence someone else and to be that one powerful conversation for someone. What, you know, whether it be your niece or your nephew or, you know, a student, whatever. But we also can influence someone else with just one glimpse of hope. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like one example that comes to mind for me when I was doing my PhD, and you know, you write a dissertation, it's this whole process. And then my professors kept telling me, you know, strike while the iron is hot. You should write a book based on your dissertation. And I'd helped other people write books, but I had never written a book before. And it, you know, it's just like, okay, this is a thing. This is a possibility. I could do this. And then, you know, I ended up going to a conference and meeting an editor at Palgrave Macmillan who ended up publishing my first book. And she was so nice and so encouraging. She helped me put together a book proposal. And then I did the thing. And I think that's another barrier for people, like, I don't know how to write a book, or I don't know how to, whatever it is that you want to do. Like, we feel like we have to know how to do it before we can do it. But so often we learn by doing. We just have to dive into the process. And it's that idea of like, we just have to believe that it's possible. And, you know, that's why it's so important to have like guides and role models and other people where we're like, okay, they did it. That means I can do it too. You know?
Mm-hmm. It really is. Having mentors and guides is so, that's one of the things that I love about, you know, my oldest child being in college, and just knowing that she's just surrounded by people that are constantly learning and thinking, and you know, when you get to finally pick your major, and then you're now doing an internship where you're surrounded again by all of these people that influence you. And I just think that's such a great opportunity. That's one of the things I love about college. I know there's this whole stigma now about college not being like, don't go to college, it's a waste of money. I mean, I just see such value. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, it's another way of just opening up all these new horizons. You meet people from all different backgrounds, all different parts of the country and the world. And, you know, you're exposed to all these new ideas.
So
Yeah.
true.
And, you know, Melinda with no limitations, you're so young. I can't wait to see like what you keep doing. Yeah, I love it. Like 200 episodes. Here we go.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? When I first started, I did a pilot series of 5 episodes,
Okay.
and I had no idea where it was going to go. I had never done a podcast before, and I had to kind of learn. I had a really good guide and mentor, my producer, Mike Osborne. I'll give him a shout out. And he helped me a lot, just figure out like how to go about the process. And then, but I'm starting to get more and more emails all the time from different people in relation to the podcast, like potential guests or people wanting, to sell me some sort of services. But, it's like, wow, congratulations, 100 episodes. Like most podcasters never get there. So that alone feels like a big milestone.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so how often do you find yourself, like, you've written the books, you've gotten several master's degrees, you've always had these things where you're just constantly growing, but how often do you find yourself like, okay, what's next? Or do you ever
Yeah.
feel like I'm settled for the moment? Are you always like, what's next?
Always. I mean, pretty much always. After I finished my PhD, I mean, that's a long haul process. And it took me 5 years to do it. And at the end of that, I was definitely very tired, kind of
Yeah.
an exhausting process. And that's the thing. I find creativity to be very energizing. I feel that creativity is connected to our life force energy. When we're being creative, we feel very alive. And also I do a lot of things, and energy is not infinite. So there are definitely times when I need to stop and rest and regroup. And that's part of the reason I did that residency over the summer. It was a chance to just go somewhere out of the daily routine, work on my creative work, but also like have a total reset. And I think that's really necessary. So there's, things are always in an ebb and flow state. And we have to remember that
Yeah.
it's important to replenish our energy.
What is your self-care? I mean, I understand like doing a big reset like that is definitely self-care. But in terms of like on a daily basis, a weekly basis, is there something that you do ritually that you're like, okay, I need this?
Yeah. I mean, all the lifestyle things that everybody talks about all the time, like, good food, exercise, good rest. Sleep is very important for me. I really need like 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night in order to function, basically. And meditations. I also have what I call my sort of team of women healers that I see on a regular basis, because I have some kind of long-standing chronic injuries and things like that. So I get acupuncture, physical therapy, massage when I can, things like that. And those are things that, for me are such priorities that I'm willing to spend my money on them. Again, like resources are finite. People have different priorities. I don't have kids, so I have a little extra kind of disposable income. But, I recently got this, like acupressure mat. Like if you can't get a massage or go to an acupuncturist, you can buy a little mat that you can lay on that stimulates your acupressure points. So again, there's always different ways, but I
Really?
think it's, yeah, yeah, but it's about like prioritizing
Yes.
self-care, you know?
Yes. It's so true. It's making me think of, I mean, going to school is kind of self-care, I would say, right? Like educating
Yeah,
yourself, it's kind of a sense.
absolutely.
But my husband just had shoulder surgery last Friday. And the nurse that was giving me all the instructions, the leave take home instructions, we just got into a small conversation, making small talk. And she was asking me about, do I have children? Do you guys have kids? Da, da, da. She herself has 6 children. She was a, like her children were all like adults. And I said, the first thing I said to her, being a mom of only 3, I feel like I have 100. Being a mom of only 3, the first thing that came out, I said, and you had time to go to nursing school and get a career like this for yourself? And she's like, I think, like, basically, like, she just made it a priority, and she goes, I did what I had to do. And I'm thinking, man, that must have been. So it's really what you just said, making it what is the most important to you? And she wanted a career despite having 6 children. She made it happen.
Yeah. And just think about how much time we all spend like watching TV or scrolling through our phones. We could be,
Oh, yeah.
and I watch TV very rarely. Once in a while, I'll watch a movie or something. But, we have choices about where we spend our time and energy. And I know y'all have talked about this on the show before, and so are we making our personal growth and development and healing a priority?
Yeah. Wow, it's so true. I had something on the top of my head. I wanted to ask you about it, but I can't think of it right now. I don't know. I don't know. I forget what it was. It will come back. It will come back. Yeah. So this woman I'm thinking about the woman with the 6 kids, and what it was making me think. Oh, I know, because listening to your podcast and talking about all the things that you do, and I have recently taken on a few more things in my life, and I'm thinking, is that not smart? Am I being neglectful? Like, am I overdoing it? Is that ridiculous? Is it credible to take on too many things? And I'm like, wait a minute, no, why can't I? Like, why can't I? Why is it too much? I mean, I listen to all the things that you do and you accomplish so incredibly, and it's inspiring to me. And even hearing about that nurse with 6 kids who became, or you had 6 kids and became a nurse, I'm like, wait a minute, if she can do that, I can handle 3 kids and 3 projects. you know and it's true with the scrolling on your phone and watching TV, because think about the whole world during COVID, like people that were on lockdown, and people were learning a new language, teaching themselves how to play an instrument. And that has gone so far away, because now people are like, now I don't have time because I had to go back to work, which is kind of sad, because it's like, well, maybe after work you could do those things that made you so happy during lockdown that you now push aside again because of the pressures of society and the wheel. Right?
Exactly. And it's all about our perception. Like, even I'm going to go a little deep here, our perception of time, right? We have these clocks and these watches and these devices that tell us the time to a very precise degree. But, when you're immersed in something that you really enjoy doing and you get into a flow state, time takes on a totally different meaning, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And when we slow down, time feels much more luxurious. Like, I had a yoga teacher years ago who said, have a sense of luxury around time. And I found that so liberating. Like, even if I just slow my roll a little bit when I'm walking, it's like, oh, things open up so much. Like, I did that on my walk this morning. I was like, because I tend to, do the power walk. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just slow that down for a second. And all of a sudden my body felt so much like more ease and less tension.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing about that really is, what I hear you saying and what I feel as you're saying that is to be being more present really with yourself, because the rushing, when we slow down, things do open up. Our mind opens up in different ways, neural pathways start to shift, and we tend in this culture to be this fast-paced society that everything has to be quick and we have to get it done, get it done, get it done. What's next? And that's exhausting energetically as well as physically and all the other things. But when you slow down physically and or even energetically internally, what I see is we can become even more productive in a way, because we're we're not rushed, and we can be more clear, more present, and then it's this natural flow instead of the push, because pushing is exhausting, and pushing causes a different frame of mind that you may be missing out. I think we do miss out naturally when we're pushing and we're forcing.
Absolutely. And that phrase, like spinning your wheels, so many of us, I think, are just spinning our wheels because we're in that adrenaline mode of, gotta get it done. And it's almost like revolutionary to slow down.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. One of the practices that I have started a while ago, I would say like at least 3 months ago, is I've always tried to do something before my kids get up, and I've experimented with different things. And now I am not getting out of bed right away. I'm staying in bed and using that time to say my gratitude prayers, like say some things to myself, little affirmations. It's kind of weird, but I'll smile for like a full minute. I'm serious. I will literally smile.
Your internal organs.
I will just lay there and smile. Yeah.
Your body relaxes.
This morning, this thing came into my head out of nowhere. I wasn't even thinking about it. And I mean, I won't divulge all of the information, but it was the name of the main character of my dream production literally came to life today, and I never even thought about her name once in my life. I just haven't been there. And all of a sudden this morning, this name that I've never even heard of in my life, it's such a bizarre name. And I was like, what is that? And I went, oh my God, that's her name. Oh my God, that's her name. Yeah. That was just because, because I stopped just getting out of bed and getting into my day. Even if the kids were going to go downstairs, even if I was reading a book, I was still getting up, reading a book. This is like, no, what are my thoughts right now? Hearing your own thoughts first thing in the morning is really interesting.
Yeah.
Wow,
for sure.
Susie,
It's a potent time. Yeah.
It is a potent time. That is so beautiful. I love that you shared that. I love that you're doing that.
Yeah.
And what you're receiving from it. I mean, that is magic right there. And if you did that when you're doing that every morning, imagine every morning you get just a tad little bit of that information for your show. And who knows? Oh, that's magic.
Well, I mean, things are opening up for me in different ways, right?
They are. Yep.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I want to play rapid fire.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Melinda. We're going to throw you 10. This is fun. Just for fun. 10 rapid fire questions. Okay? All right, Melinda. Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
Coffee, tea, or neither?
Both.
Okay. You don't hear that often, right? Somebody's usually like one or the other, like swayed towards. Okay. This is good for you. Favorite city you've traveled to? I'm very curious.
Oh, that is so hard.
Feel free to give us your top faves.
Yeah. Okay. I love Venice in Italy. It's amazing, magical place. I love Reykjavik in Iceland, of course. And I have a very special soft spot in my heart for New Orleans, where I lived for several years before I came to Austin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I have gotta venture to these places. Okay. Yeah. What is the song you can't stop listening to right now?
Well, since I'm working on an album at the moment, the song that's been really with me the most is one of my own songs that I'm working on, which I sang at the retreat. Actually, it's called "I Wish I Could Fly." So it's just it's going through my head all the time because I'm actively working on it and recording it.
Oh, wow.
Would you just sing or say one line?
Yeah, so I'll just say really quick. So a lot of my song ideas have been coming to me in the night, before sleep, during dreams, or when I first wake up. And this is one of those that came to me a while back, and then I worked on it more over the summer. So in this kind of falling asleep state, I just heard this line, I wish I could fly. I wish I could fly above the world into the by and by. So that's the chorus. And now I've like created the whole rest of the song.
Oh, I can't wait to hear the whole album. Where would we find
definitely.
that? Where are you going to drop that?
Yeah, I mean, all the usual places, website, Spotify, it'll be out there through all, the normal places that you find music.
Mm-hmm. All right. A book that changed your life.
When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. Do you know that one?
Nope.
Yes.
But everyone, beautiful, I will put that in the show notes. When Things Fall Apart by, who's it by?
Pema, Pema Chodron, Chodron. She's an American Buddhist nun. And this book is so great for anyone who's going through any kind of a life change or life transition.
Okay. Was Pema with 2 M's? Yeah. 1 M. Okay. Perfect. Pen and paper or digital notes?
Both. I use both at different times. I journal. I write a lot of things. I have a little book that I write all my like to-do lists and ideas in. But digital is really useful in other situations too.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband would be so happy if my answer to that was digital. But it is pen and paper for sure. Okay. Your favorite creative ritual? What's your favorite one?
Well, I'm not doing it at the moment, but one that I've done in the past, which I've really enjoyed, is like a daily mandala drawing. And it's really simple. It doesn't have to be elaborate or sophisticated. I usually take a Tupperware lid and use a Sharpie to draw a circle on a piece of paper. And then that's like your structure. And then you just draw inside the circle. It can be symmetrical, geometric. It can be totally organic. But you can set a timer and do a 10-minute mandala at the start of your day. And it's such a fun creative practice, and it's very absorbing. It gets you into that flow state, gets you out of your habitual mind. It's really fun.
I think I might do that with my little one. That sounds like a fun little exercise to do with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Biggest source of inspiration at this moment?
Gosh. I think other people, the people that I interact with. I'm a big, big fan of collaboration. And like even just this retreat, I felt so inspired by all the people that were there and hearing their stories and what they were working on and thinking about and struggling with and inspired by. I get really inspired by relationships and, connecting with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part of this podcast. It's connecting. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts for sure. Okay. One thing you would tell your younger self it says in 3 words, but that's what I wrote. It doesn't have to be in 3 words.
Anything is possible.
Ooh. Yes,
So
coming
true.
from No Limits, Melinda, that was perfect. Perfect. Okay, last question on rapid fire. What is a word that you would use to describe 2025 so far?
I'm going to do a phrase. A beautiful chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good one. Did anything come to your mind for that, Jenny?
The first word that came to me was expansive. That's my personal experience of 2025. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about you, Susie?
Susie?
I mean, unlike the eloquent words of the two of you, mine would be holy shit.
Which is extremely descriptive.
Buckle
That
up,
works.
kids.
Buckle up, Buttercup. It's not over yet.
It is not over. We have not peaked. But yeah, so Melinda, in terms of kind of on that light of 2025 and everything, the world in general, how often do you tune in? And I don't mean the news in general. Like, I'm not saying you tune into a station. I'm saying, how often do you allow yourself to tune in?
Tune in what sense?
So I don't want to say let it affect you, but really pay attention to, do you constantly pay attention to what's going on? Or do you have moments where you're like, I'm going to put this aside, I'm going to do my thing, and then I'm going to reconnect and say, okay, what's going on now in the world? What did I miss? Do you ever have what did I miss moments, or do you constantly stay on top of it? That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So because to my mind, there's tuning into like what's happening in the world and the news and all that, and then there's tuning in internally.
Correct.
And
so,
I do
yeah,
both.
I mean what's happening in the world on the outside, not inside.
Yeah. So I don't watch the news. I rarely listen to the news. I do look at the headlines because to me, it is important to me to stay informed about what's going on. But in small doses. Because, I am curious about world events and the dynamics of everything that's happening and curious how this is all going to play out and so forth. We talked about this quite a bit during the retreat as well. However, as we know, the news and the media and all this stuff is like set up to keep us hooked, to keep us afraid, to keep us anxious. And so we can't, if we want to retain our sanity and well-being, we can't succumb to that because it's a very elaborately and specifically designed system to keep us reeled into all that. So we have to make a conscious effort. Yes, it's okay to stay informed, but not to get drawn in to that, all the drama of it.
I think that's such an important message. And I feel like we have to continue to repeat that because it's so easy to get sucked in and pulled into the matrix of the negative. And yes, highlighting, getting the highlights, getting the headlines, seeing what's happening is important. And I think that for me, it's important because it's like, okay, I have to keep shining my light even more. I have to stay in the presence of peace and expressing that, rippling that out, as we talked about in the retreat, how interconnected we are and how our energies are rippling out. And so how we feel, how we show up really does affect the whole. And staying informed is vital. And also staying in our own sovereignty is even more vital.
And just keeping our center, keeping our grounding. But the other thing I do is when I look through the news, I always like to look for there's always some interesting, more positive stories kind of mixed in with all the other stuff. So like this morning, I learned that there's an archaeologist who's exploring some ruins off the coast of Egypt where they think Cleopatra may have been buried. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No one's talking about that as much.
No, not so much.
No, not so much. So one of the things we haven't touched on yet is you're a teacher, right?
Yes.
At Saybrook University.
Yes.
So how have your students, what have they taught you about creativity? If there's something that you are like, okay, I really get this from my students. It feeds me.
Yeah, so much. I learned so much from my students, and I feel like it's such an exchange, and they give me so much inspiration, and the topics that they're exploring are so fascinating. I have one student who's working on a dissertation exploring the relationship between sort of creativity, anxiety, and authenticity. And how we can express our authentic selves through our creativity. I feel like I get inspiration from them. I help guide them in kind of honing their ideas. And so it's definitely a two-way street. I'm so inspired by their stories, their journeys. Everyone is coming from such a different array of experiences and backgrounds. So I was explaining, like, I have one student who's working on her dissertation exploring the connection between anxiety, authenticity, and creativity, and how we can use creativity to express our authentic selves.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And so many more examples. I have students who, everyone's on a journey of some kind, and how different students are using, like, several of them have lost a child, and they're drawn to a graduate program in psychology and creativity because they're trying to make sense of their own journey. Or, people who've had trauma in their own background who were inspired to become therapists so that they can help others to deal with what they've dealt with. And, there's this archetype in Jungian psychology of the wounded healer. And I think many of us that are drawn into healing professions, it's because we've been there. We've experienced it. We've worked through it in some way, and then we want to give back to other people. So.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That must be, I mean, gosh, so inspiring working with students who are just so full of life and they're like sponges. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So what is next for you?
Well, as Jenny and I were just talking about, there's some more retreats in the works. So stay tuned for that. I know one specifically for sure. I do a New Year's retreat every year in Mexico, in Pátzcuaro, which is a beautiful little town in Michoacan. It's called The Art of Impermanence. And we do it in January of every year to kind of set the tone for the new year. And it explores art and creativity through the Buddhist teachings on impermanence. So that is coming up January 4th through 10th of next year. And I'm working on another book with Charlotte, my business partner. We've been working on it for a while now. It's not coming quite as quickly as the other one, but it'll get there. And it's all about creative collaboration and community, and how just the synergy of what we can accomplish when we work together with others. So those are a
Wow.
couple things. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
I can't even tell you how inspired I am by your story and your path and everything that you do and have done. And my eyes are peeled to watch you fly and flourish even more than I'm just going to nickname you Limitless Melinda because it really, you can see that that's how you live your life and it's beautiful. And I love that you shared with our listeners here. And I do want to ask you before we go. I know that on your show, you end with a pro tip. Any chance you could give our listeners a fun pro tip about anything, just anything in the world? Just maybe something pro tip you can leave with.
Yeah, definitely. I think, a lot of people are feeling discouraged, as we've talked about, by what's happening in the world right now. And I think two great antidotes to that, we kind of touched on this, but to make it even more explicit, are to engage in some kind of creative practice and to connect with your community. And even if you feel like you don't really have a community, find your people, find your tribe, find people to connect with in a meaningful way. And that is so kind of heartening and energizing with everything that's going on right now.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That was so good. Yeah. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us on this season 3 opener. And we're so excited. Leave us comments. Tell us what you thought about the episode. And I know I speak for Jenny and myself. Melinda, join us again. Please.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure.
Your words of wisdom are amazing. Yeah. How about you, Jenny? What do you have to say here?
Just how much I'm grateful for Melinda in my life and such a dear soul to me, soul sister. And I can't wait to continue working with you and all the things and more retreats and more joy and more light and more love. So thank you, my dear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melinda.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All is well.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Sister Sessions podcast. If you found inspiration in today's conversation, we'd love it if you shared the episode with your besties, family, or even your favorite neighbors. We'll be back next week with more to share, but until then, remember, meditation is the key to unlocking your inner peace. All is well, friends. See you soon.